This is Mamuni. Thank you so much for being Amar Baba.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss how to solve a trial balance problem. So let's get started. Chalo, shuru kora jak. Problem. Trial balance. Now let's go through the problem. The following balances were extracted from the book of Baba as on 31st March 2022. The name of accounts are given here and the amounts are given here. You are required to calculate the balance of Baba's capital account and to prepare a trial balance as on 31st March 2022. That means there will be a balancing figure in the credit column since capital account has a credit balance. The total of debit column will be greater than the total of credit column because capital account has a credit balance. So, capital account will be the balancing figure. The trial balance won't tally. So, let's go through the first account. The first account is cash. What is the amount? 40,000. So, let's write cash. Cash. 40,000. Cash has a debit balance and that is the reason we are writing 40,000 in the debit column. Why cash is debit? Because cash falls under real account. According to real account, what comes in is debit. Here, from the point of view of business, cash comes into the business. So, cash account will be debited. Understood? Let's see the next account. The next account is opening stock 5,000. Let's write opening stock. Opening stock has a debit balance and that is the reason we are going to write opening stock in the debit column. Okay, why opening stock has a debit balance? Because opening stock comes under nominal account. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, opening stock is an expense for the business. So, opening stock will be debited. Understood? So, let's see the next account. The next account is closing stock 6,000. But closing stock will not appear in the trial balance. Instead, you will write a short note below the trial balance. Okay. But why closing stock does not appear in the trial balance? Closing stock does not appear in the trial balance because closing stock is the balance of unsold goods that are remaining from the purchases made during an accounting period. The value of total purchases is already included in the trial balance. So, if we write again closing stock in the trial balance, the effect will be doubled. That means we are writing purchases twice. So, closing stock will not appear in the trial balance except in some cases. Okay. Instead, we'll write a short note. Closing stock will not appear in the trial balance because it has not yet been brought into account. That means closing stock has not been deducted from the purchases. Understood? Now let's see the next account. The next account is Carriage Inverse 1,000. Let's write Carriage Inverse. Carriage Inverse has a debit balance and that is the reason we have written 1,000 in the debit column. Carriage Inverse comes under nominal account. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, carriage inverse is a transportation cost. So, carriage inverse is an expense for the business. So, carriage inverse will be debited. Understood? Now, let's see the next account. The next account is Carriage Outwards 2,000. Let's write. Carriage Outwards has a debit balance 2. That is the reason we are writing in the debit column. Carriage Outwards comes under nominal account 2. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, carriage outwards is an expense for the business because carriage outwards is a transportation cost. So, carriage outwards will be debited. Understood? So, let's see the next account. Postage and telephone, 500. Let's write. Postage and telephone. Postage and telephone comes under, postage and telephone has a debit balance, and that is the reason we are writing 500 in the debit column. Why postage and telephone is debit? Because postage and telephone comes under nominal account. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, postage and telephone is an expense for the business. So, postage and telephone will be debited. Understood? Now, let's see the next account. The next account is wages and salaries, 7,500. Let's write wages and salaries. 7,500. Wages and salaries has a debit balance, and that is the reason we have written 7,500 in the debit column. Wages and salaries comes under nominal account. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, wages and salaries is an expense for the business. So, wages and salaries will be debited. Understood? Let's see the next account. Purchases, 20,000. Let's write. Purchases. Purchases has a debit balance. That is the reason we're writing in the debit column. Why purchases is debit? Because purchases account comes under real account as well as nominal account. According to real account, what comes in is debit. Here, when goods are purchased, goods come into the business. So, purchases account will be debited. According to nominal account, all losses and expenses debit. Here, when goods are purchased, cash goes out from the business. So, purchases account is an expense for the business. So, purchases account will be debited. Understood? Let's see the next account. The next account is sales, 30,000. Let's write sales. Sales has a credit balance, and that is the reason we're writing 30,000 in the credit column. But why sales is credit? Because sales come under real account as well as nominal account. According to real account, what goes out is credit. Here, when goods are sold, goods go out from the business. So, sales account will be credited. According to nominal account, all incomes and gains credit. Here, when goods are sold, cash comes into the business. So, sales is an income for the business. So, sales account will be credited. Understood? Now, let's see the next account. The next account is creditors, 14,000. Let's write creditors. Creditors has a credit balance, and that is the reason we're writing 14,000 in the credit column. Why creditors is credit? Because creditors comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. Here, creditor is the giver of the benefit. So, creditor account will be credited. Understood? Let's see the last account. The last account is delivery vans, 18,000. Let's write delivery vans, 18,000. Delivery vans is an asset. It has a debit balance. So, we'll write 18,000 in the debit column. Why delivery vans is debit? Because delivery van comes under real account. According to real account, what comes in is debit. Here, when delivery van is purchased, delivery van comes into the business. So, delivery van's account will be debited because it is an asset. Okay? So, now let's calculate the total of debit column and the total of credit column. Okay? The total of debit column is 94,000 and the total of credit column is 44,000. So, we'll write 94,000 on both sides. যেটা বড় টোটাল সেটাই আমরা both sides লিখি. So the balancing figure will be capital. They have already told us in the problem. Remember, see in the problem they have already told us. You are required to calculate the balance of Baba's capital account. So there will be a capital account. What is the amount of capital account? We don't know. So capital account will be the balancing figure. So Baba's capital account will be the balancing figure. So let's find out Baba's capital account. Capital account. Balancing figure. So, what is the amount of capital? The total of debit column is 94,000 and the total of credit column is only 44,000. So, deduct the total of credit column from the total of debit column. You'll get 50,000. Because the total of debit column is 94,000 and the total of credit column is only 44,000. So deduct 44,000 from the total of 94,000 and you will get 50,000. Understood? So the capital is 50,000. So the balancing figure will be treated as capital. Understood? Now see, the total of debit column is equal to the total of credit column after writing capital. See, the total of debit column is now 94,000. See, the total of credit column is also now 94,000. Okay. So, the trial balance did tally because the total of debit column is equal to the total of credit column. I hope you understood. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your precious time. I sincerely hope this was helpful. And before I fade out, please remember, don't chase people. Chase your dreams. Bye-bye. Take care. Stay safe and stay blessed always.